Chad, just one question. The Facebook questions that come in, are they going to come into here? Or do I need to do anything?
So, they won't come into here. So if you're on Facebook today, Amanda, you can either pull up a browser with our McKay Center Peacebuilders Facebook page, or
maybe someone else can do it. Mariah, could I ask you to do that?
Feed questions.
So cool. Welcome. It's good to see you guys. I know some of you. And for those of you that I don't know, hopefully someday I get to meet you. And some of you are in my class. So some of this might be review, but I just wanted to start just with the basic underlining, like, so we're all on the same page, and maybe asking you, when you think of mindfulness, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? And I think everyone has a different idea of it, and it's a really big buzzword. It has been for the past couple of years, but I feel like more people are getting introduced to it and trying to understand what it means for them. So maybe just a few words. What does mindfulness mean to you?
Compassion.
Say that again, Lilia.
Compassion.
Compassion. Awesome. Good.
Being aware.
Being aware. Perfect. Okay, I have to pause for 1 second. I told my kids I was on this, but all right. Oh, okay. So I have 5 kids at home trying to do homeschool and lots of complications. Okay, so compassion. I'm trying to use my mindfulness skills right now to like not be stressed out that they can't get on their Zoom call. Okay, what else? Compassion, being present or being aware, I think is what Charity said. Anything else?
When I think of mindfulness, I think of like doing things with an intention. It's like always intentionally doing things.
Awesome. Thanks, Jada. I love that. It's good to see you. I didn't realize you were here. It's fun to see some friends. Okay, so yeah, doing things with intention. If you've ever been to a yoga class, a lot of yoga teachers will say, before we even start our session, let's set an intention. Has anyone heard that before? Like set an intention? So I think not just in yoga, but in everyday life, like you can wake up in the morning and set like an intention for your day. So mindfulness can be applied in lots of different areas. I'm gonna just pull up and how we can connect it to peace building. So if I can figure this out. All right. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, so first, here's just like some, oh, that's not where I wanted it to go. Dang it. Now I'm stuck. How do I go back? Okay, here we go. Okay, mindfulness. What is mindfulness? So the term mindfulness, the first time it was recorded and actually used was by a Buddhist scholar, and he was trying to translate the Pali word sati. And so it evokes this idea of awareness or remembering to focus on the present moment, just like we talked about. And then John Kabat-Zinn was more recently somebody who, he was probably the one that most made it more popular. And he did this through, he's a therapist, and he coined mindfulness-based stress reduction. So that's like a type of therapy. And a lot of therapists today are using this type of therapy to be able to work with clients of all different, like PTSD or different, like really anything, any anxiety or depression, any sort of disorder. They really have found that mindfulness and using this mindfulness to reduce your stress can help improve your mental health. So his definition, he would say, is the awareness that arises through paying attention, like you talked about, on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experience moment by moment. That's a little wordy, but basically what he's trying to say, I think, or what I get out of this, is that by paying attention on purpose, so purposefully, so that's why I think meditation comes into play when we talk about mindfulness, because when we're meditating, we're really paying attention, we're calm, we have this stillness, that even closing our eyes, this idea of like really being present in the moment to things that are coming up. So the sensations that come up in our body, a lot of times we're not even paying attention to it. Like if you can imagine your body for a minute and think of something, and we'll just do this little exercise really quick. So I want you guys to think of something in your life and I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys. Oh, I lost you. Okay, there we go. Okay, so think of a time in your life that you were really happy, and just picture maybe it's a person that you're around. And I want you to just think about like somebody that, or some time in your life that you were really happy. Maybe it was a vacation. Maybe it helps to even close your eyes to get the image in your mind. And now I want you to just take a deep breath in through your nose. And then just see if you can pay attention to that breath as it's going out of your body. And then is there any sensation in your body that you can feel as you have this image in your mind, like you're thinking of somebody or something that makes you really happy? And then you can just open your eyes really quick and join us. And if anyone can share, if it's possible, can you feel where in your body did the sensation arise as you thought of somebody? And maybe it's just a thought. Maybe you're like, oh, it just kind of made me smile. Like maybe I felt it in my face or in my shoulders or in my heart. Can anyone, I know it wasn't a very long little time to check in, but if there was a feeling or a sensation, can anyone point in your body where you felt that? Mariah, I think you're on mute still.
Sorry. It was right here in my heart, and it kind of like included my stomach too.
Awesome. So she was able to pinpoint, okay, wait, that's where I felt that in my body. So what would, and maybe I'll ask one more. Does anyone else have a sensation that they felt come up for them in their body?
I felt it in my chest.
Cool. And what was it? Can you describe it? Like what the feeling was?
Just like kind of stress relief, because I've just been super stressed. So thinking of that, I just like felt some like relief off my chest.
Awesome. And that was just by taking a breath. Like all we did was take a breath, pay attention, have an image in our mind, like a thought, a positive thought, and then it automatically will create a sensation. So the purpose of mindfulness is to get in tune with that sensation. So whatever that was for us, like if it was here, did anyone else have it anywhere else? Mine usually is like right across my chest for both good and the negative ones. Usually it's just like this, like either kind of starts here and then kind of like moves out towards my shoulders.
For me, I felt like peace, but a real sparkly sensation coming through me. So I just felt like, oh, there's a lot of ear bubbles of pockets of happiness going on. Yeah.
Well, great words. Thank you. So like a bubbly or sparkly, like, yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So that's a base, right? Like we can all resonate with, okay, what is it? A feeling, a sensation in our body that we can actually feel. And so I'll go back to our slides and, okay. I think we skipped one. All right, so we got that. Paying attention on purpose in the present moment, and then non-judging. So whatever it is, whatever the sensation is, whatever the image or something that we're paying attention to, we don't judge it. So the idea of mindfulness is to really get to this place where whatever comes up for us, we're not gonna like sit and hold on to it. We're gonna just let it come up. And then we sit with it and we recognize that it's there, we're aware of it, and then we just kind of let it be. One of the phrases I like is let it come, let it be, and then we learn to let it go eventually, right? We can't just say, okay, I had that sensation and now probably whatever it is, it's slowly kind of we're letting it go, right? And so it can work for both, for good and bad, like whatever our moments that we're in. And that's why he points out moment by moment. It's that every moment, a new sensation, a new feeling, a new thought is going to come into us. We might be in a good groove or in this flow and we're working, or we're maybe even if we're on a date or we're out with a friend, like we have these moments, and then sometimes in an instant, a sensation might change or a feeling. Maybe we'll see like a car pass by or something that reminds us of somebody, and that sensation can change. So just the ability, and the more we practice mindfulness, the more we even sit still and just do those little exercises of breathing and paying attention to what it is in our body that's coming up for us, the better we'll get at paying attention to whether, it shifted, if the mood shifted, can we get ourselves to be like, okay, I'm letting it be there. And now if it's a negative one, I can learn how to eventually let that go. So this is just a little idea of why, I guess, how this kind of can connect to peace building. So by opening ourselves to the present, and then with curiosity, one of my favorite words is just being curious, right? We're being curious with what's going on inside of our bodies. We're looking at the truth our feelings point to. So what is our feeling trying to tell us? And just like the exercise, when we thought of something positive, our body's telling us, yeah, that was a good moment, or that is a good friend for us, and that helps us recognize goodness or truth. We nurture our inner voice. So knowing that there's just already inside of us, we all know, and Thich Nhat Hanh, I'll introduce him in a minute, but he's one of my favorite, he's a Zen master on mindfulness, and he talks about just paying attention to what's going on inside of us, knowing that our truth is already there. Like we all already have this built inside of us, this voice that sometimes gets kind of quieted, or we forget to pay attention to it. So we see our gifts, we see how these gifts lead us to purpose and connection with people in our relationships, and our ability to harmonize, to be able to work with others, or in other words, to be better peace builders. So this idea of mindfulness leading us to become better peace builders, Thich Nhat Hanh was a master at this. So this is something that he said about just the collective. He says the collective is made of the individual, and the individual is made of the collective. And each and every individual has a direct effect on the collective consciousness. So take that in for a minute, like thinking about all of us working like community, right? We're all in this together. He says engaged peace workers need to be strong, stable, and genuinely peaceful. Inner balance is crucial for peace work. So inner balance, that's another way of saying mindfulness is crucial, he says, for peace work. He says, of course, you do not have to wait until you achieve perfect peace and harmony, because that's probably never going to come. This idea of being like, oh, I have to like be totally zen or totally perfect, like that, just by the definition of mindfulness, that it changes moment to moment, you won't have that. So he says, you don't wait for that to happen. You start engaging in social action now, like you can do it now. And just this idea that mindfulness is going to just make you that much better at peace building. This one's kind of long. Does someone feel like they want to read this? It's a good, nice, loud voice, so I don't have to talk so much.
I can read it.
Oh, great. Thanks, Charity.
We often think of peace as the absence of war, that if powerful countries would reduce their weapon arsenals, we could have peace. But if we look deeply into the weapons, we see our minds, our own fears, prejudices, and ignorance. Even if we transport all the bombs to the moon, the roots of war and the roots of bombs are still there, in our hearts and minds, and sooner or later we will make new bombs. To work for peace is to uproot war from ourselves and from the hearts of men and women. To prepare for war is to plant millions of seeds of violence, anger, frustration, and fear that will be passed on for generations to come.
Okay, so there's a lot. Thank you, Terry, for reading that. A lot of information in that. But what can you see in here that might remind you, if any of you Peacebuilding 121 students or anyone that's taken Peacebuilding, what are some things in here that you can relate to what we've learned so far as peace builders? Anything stand out to anyone? Yeah, Gabby?
Even if we, like how he said, if we transport all the bombs to the moon, those like feelings of like conflict and like they're still there in our hearts, and they'll stay there until we resolve them. Yeah.
You remember in Arbinger where we learned that heart at war, heart at peace. So it has to start with ourselves. Like in order to, and really thinking about any time there's war in the world or this huge polarization that's going on in the world right now, it's starting with individuals. It starts within our hearts. So you can't just say, okay, we're going to get rid of everything. It really does start right here in our hearts. And that's why mindfulness to me is so important, that we can pause and get in tune with what's really going on inside of us. So just like when we're in 121, and one of the biggest things we're working on is just getting at peace and out of the box with one person. Like that was our whole goal, right? For 121, if you remember, like trying to just find peace with that one person and learning how to have that heart at peace and not a heart at war towards them. Okay, and I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but he got awarded for, and Martin Luther King Jr. was the one that, oh, sorry, you guys. I can't move my little thing. Okay, so can somebody read this quote?
Well, everyone knows that peace has to begin with oneself, but not many people know how to do it.
Okay, so Thich Nhat Hanh is very straightforward, and he has lots of books that he's written. And Martin Luther King Jr. in 1967, he recommended him to get awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. And he said that he was the greatest man that would be able to show, because of who he was, which reminds me again of way of being. Like he had this very peaceful way of being. He said that he would be able to create peace throughout the world if we could listen to the way he teaches and the practices that he wanted us to learn. So that's another good peace building connection that I love, that Thich Nhat Hanh and Martin Luther King Jr. were friends. And he called him his friend. He said that I honor him as a friend. And that's when he awarded him that. And he got the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, so here's just a few things that mindfulness can do. So it says, actually, can somebody read that again? Just that first part. Someone just unmute themselves and do it.
I can read it.
Two of you. Thank you.
Mindfulness Mindfulness as a trait or as the outcome of dedicated periods of practice has been associated with numerous capacities that could help us with stress reduction, empathy building, emotion regulation, forgiveness, conflict transformation, and creative problem solving.
Awesome. So again, these are scientifically based, proven ways that mindfulness can help us. So the big one that a lot of people will focus on is the stress reduction. And if we can reduce stress in ourselves, then these things follow. We'll have more empathy. We'll be able to regulate our emotions. We'll be able to forgive others. And this conflict transformation, like really, when we're mindful, and if anyone was here 2 sessions ago, when Chad showed, I think he showed you guys the different brain scans. Was anyone on here when he did that? So the first brain scan, you remember, the connections weren't as far across and they were a lot thinner. It was a computerized brain scan of how our neurons are moving through our brain. And then the other one, do you guys remember what that one was of? It had a lot thicker lines and they were going all the way across the brain and making connections to different parts of the brain. Does anyone know what that brain scan was? Sorry, I think you're muted. Did you want to share with us?
You mean creativity, the creative one?
Yeah, so one of them was that the creativity was higher, but the person that they did the brain scan on was a yogi, somebody that had been practicing mindfulness. Yeah. So just another example of how in our brains we can see that it's going to help us to be more creative with problem solving. It's going to help us be able to really understand and see people as people, and be able to not just see ourselves better, but see the people that we're in relationship with better. So I wanted to, actually, we're gonna skip that. Okay. I think I'm just worried I'm gonna run out of time. Okay, I can see you guys again. All right. Okay, so Mariah, any questions so far on Facebook or any comments that I need to know about?
No, well, I shared one of them in the chat.
Oh, shoot.
Sarah was talking about when we were reading about the war quote and how it first starts with us. She said the quote about the hearts of people being at war reminded me of the introduction to the book, The Peacegiver.
Yeah, Jim Pearl's book, The Peacegiver. Yeah, for sure. That's a great connection. Okay, so we'll just take a minute here to see if there's any other comments that you guys have on how mindfulness and peace building can connect. And maybe thinking about Arbinger, like any connections or any things that you see that kind of spark this idea of how can mindfulness and meditation and that awareness that we're creating inside of us help us with the principles from Arbinger that we've learned.
Well, I just want to give like a little testimonial of this because I went through Amanda's class for mindfulness at the beginning of the year. And I mean, trying to like teach peace or trying to mediate a conflict towards peace, going in as a mediator, if you have a heart at war, if you have like a conflicted heart, or I don't know how to explain it, but like if you go in there not at peace, it's hard to have that atmosphere. It's hard to bring the space for other, to like try to help other people find that peace if you still are angry at something or even unaware that like you're agitated towards something. And so being mindful like of where your heart's turned, where your mind is at, being able to like have that peace first is, I think, is crucial to be able to be a peace builder.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. With mediation is huge. There's lots of I've read different books and different ideas of mediators that have started using mindfulness, even on their own, but then even in the mediation, they're able to practice just like even a quick like 2-minute breathing practice will help the mediation run more smoothly. So for sure, mediation is a huge one. Thanks, Mariah. Yeah, any other thoughts about connecting peace building, the skills that you guys have learned, and how mindfulness would benefit that?
I wanted to share something.
Hi, McKenna.
Hi. I also was in a mindfulness class, and I love that by practicing meditation and mindfulness in every day, you create this, like, you connect with yourself that leads to a greater capacity, which is what we were just talking about. And so I've seen that in like this whole year as I've just been more aware of myself, more in tune with my own emotions, my own sensations, and just connecting with myself creates a greater capacity for others. And that's the ultimate goal of peace building, is being able to connect with others, understand others, and see people as people. And you can't really do that until you like connect with yourself and you understand yourself as a person.
Awesome. That's exactly. Thank you, McKenna. It's so good to see you guys. All right. So yes, mindfulness, peace building, there's this huge connection. And I really, really believe that if we can create and sustain a personal mindfulness practice by even just doing like 5 minutes of breathing or sitting still before we get off onto our day or before we start doing whatever our career, whatever field that we go into, if we can make mindfulness part of that and really have a genuine individual practice, and then we can incorporate that into the space that we work at, I think it's going to really improve the ability to truly be peace builders. Yeah, so I guess we'll leave a few minutes open for questions, and then I'm going to shift gears a little bit. The other thing that I do is family work and social work. So I wanted to just make the last part of that, and then at the very end, we'll do a little guided meditation. So first, questions about mindfulness, about maybe if anyone's curious about yoga, how that intertwines into peace building. I got my yoga certificate a couple years ago, and I've been able to teach yoga online. There's studios obviously aren't open, so we're not doing that, but it's been really interesting to be able to see how mindfulness and yoga can still work without the studios. I've been able to I have a friend in New Zealand that her and I ran a couples mindfulness workshop, and being able to use mindfulness in kind of a therapeutic way and being able to connect and understand how mindfulness in relationships works. That was one way. And then Mariah, actually, do you mind sharing just really quickly about the company that you're going to start working for and how mindfulness connects with that? And
yeah, so the organization is called Kids Hurt 2 Hawaii. So it's just for children that have gone through traumatic experiences, whether it's a wide range, sexual abuse to military deployment for parents. And we use mindfulness, or like facilitate these sessions for mindfulness for these kids to be aware of like their thoughts and their emotions, knowing that they're not the thoughts that come, knowing that they can overcome, kind of like helping them have that hope again, and just it's called realization, right? And so yeah, that's how we use mindfulness to even overcome such traumatic experiences.
Yeah, so trauma and grief, a lot of times therapists will also use mindfulness, being able to help them to release and have a better understanding of what they went through and be able to move through just that same ideas like letting it come, letting it be, and then letting it go. Like those 3 stages, mindfulness is really helpful in grief and trauma and all different kinds of mental health issues. So yeah. Okay, so any questions about how you could use mindfulness in peace building, or really anything, any questions that you guys have? I know a few people from the 480 is the capstone class where you guys get to do a project. If you haven't done that yet, you'll get to look forward to that. But a few people this semester are doing, oh, Mariah, you're in that. So, right? Are you in 480? Okay, cool. So a few people in that class are doing, using mindfulness and maybe, I think, yoga for their projects. So I know there are ways, and even for your internships, there's things that you can do. There's a really big connection between yoga, mindfulness, and peace building. And it's getting bigger too. I feel like the field is expanding and there's lots more opportunities. There's even trainings that you can go to that connect mindfulness to peace building. There's also like a yoga therapy training that you can get certified for to be like a yoga therapist. And they use even just movements and mindfulness in healing and therapy. So there's lots of opportunities out there.
Yeah. And I just tried to apply for a job and they asked if I had a mindfulness certificate. So like it is growing. It is like,
yep. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Anything coming up from Facebook or any other chats? I don't always, okay. I see my chat. There's nothing there. Okay.
I actually had a question.
Yeah. Hi, Jade.
Hi. What would be like an example of combining mindfulness and peace building? Like what would that look like? In like
Mariah has an answer. Go for it, Mariah.
Okay, I mean it's not like the correct answer, but just as an example, working with, again, I worked with refugees before and we had two different classes for conflict, and one was just like the interpersonal, so like mindfulness for themselves to like not be in conflict with themselves, and then the other one was like conflict with their community. And so like that's where they were able to like discuss problems, whether it's like with someone they lived with or someone that lived on the other side of the street from them or something. But like just having those two classes, both of them were required for them to to go through the program. And so like then having to go and understand like they are in conflict with themselves, or they could be in conflict with themselves, to be at peace with themselves before they're able to like turn and look at others and be like, okay, like I don't have to be in conflict with you either. It's like the analogy that Chad always uses of like two people with their elbows in the back and they're like hitting each other and they're like, why doesn't the other person turn? And then when you're like, oh my gosh, like I should turn, like that's where that mindfulness comes from, and then you can turn. And so like I think both of them should be required for mediation.
Awesome, Mariah. Thanks. What another great connection, and seeing the Arbinger and how mindfulness can be pulled into that, and that idea of turning first, like really being mindful of yourself is going to give you that strength and the calm that it takes to really be the person to turn and stay turned, right? The more we practice mindfulness, the ability will really being able to see people as people and being able to let go of those fears. So mindfulness can reduce our fears. And so I think, Jada, maybe you're more practically looking at like what does that job field look like? And I really think you just got to be creative in the way you look at it. And I mean, you can search for jobs like peace building mindfulness, but really just any job in peace building, the background of mindfulness, like Mariah said, can help you in any career, not just peace building. But so making that connection, a lot of times people that are hiring, and if they know that, yeah, I have some mindfulness training, or, I have a mindfulness practice, it benefits, I think, anyone. Chad just the other day was talking to someone who said, and he's like in his 70s, he's like, yeah, I think he was, said that he had decided that mindfulness is what is helping him right now. And he kind of shifted, I think, I'm not going to quote it because I'll probably say it wrong, but that it's I guess never too late to use it, but starting now, and before you even find out what your career is, getting that practice for yourself is going to benefit you with any job that you guys decide to go on. And I think anyone that's hiring you would be grateful that you have that practice for yourself, and that you've been able to and incorporate it. And even learning how to just teach a simple breathing technique would help in any mediation, for sure. I think would be really helpful. But did I see another hand?
I just had a comment from Facebook. Catherine was asking, in what ways can we strengthen our background in mindfulness training?
Great question. So there's obviously lots of access. The internet has lots of things that you can look up. One of my favorite, he has a podcast, his name is Thomas McConkey. It's called Mindfulness Plus. He has a podcast that he does that's amazing. It usually has maybe the philosophy, and then he'll do a little 10-minute practice. but he also has things like the cheapest one he has is $40. You can pay $40 and it's not necessarily like a certificate, but it's a training an online training that you can go through Mindfulness Plus. He is an LDS. He used to be Buddhist actually for about, I want to say 10 years. He was Buddhist. He left the church when he was young, and then he found his way back to the church and has incorporated, and he sees the connection between the Buddhism and LDS philosophy, and it's kind of put them together. He's one of my favorites. So that's one way you can do it. There's lots of different trainings. I think it doesn't just have to be a yoga training, because there are you can get like a 200-hour or 300-hour yoga certificate or 500-hour yoga certificate. And usually those include a mindfulness training if you look deeply into it. Like the one I went to was on the Big Island, and we spent about 20 of those 200 hours was just on meditation. And then we also, any of the yoga philosophy will incorporate mindfulness. But you don't have to do yoga. I feel like I just want to make that clear. Like yoga is such a great base and foundation to get you to understand mindfulness, and moving your body in yoga poses actually originally was created so that you can sit in a stillness for a longer sustained period of time. So there is a connection, obviously, but you don't have to do yoga to do mindfulness, but it will help with your meditation practice. Good question.
Where does Thomas McConkie live?
He's in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
He just had a baby.
I want to go find him.
He's amazing. If you are in Salt Lake City, once things are open, which Utah's not looking too good, but maybe in like a couple years when they get their numbers down, he has a saga or like a community that he meets once a month. And if you're in the community, he invites people to come, and he also has trainings, and he has retreats that are amazing. There's lots of, and I mean, anywhere you're at, you can find a mindfulness retreat. And those the idea is that you're like unplugging from your life and being able to really dive into philosophy and practice and the understanding how that can affect you in your life. And then, it's like a reset for a lot of people, and even people that have been practicing. Thomas McConkie is a good example. He does his own, he does these silent retreats for himself, and he'll just like unplug for a whole week, and he'll just like not talk for a week.
Cool.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Okay, we good? Chad said, make sure you give them lots of time because it takes them a while to come up with their questions. So I'm pausing. Here's my pause, Chad. Making sure you guys. Oh, I do see a chat. Is that just from you, Maria? Okay, got it. All right. I think what I want to do, actually, I'm going to change my mind. Surprise. I often change my mind. So I think we're going to do a little practice right now, and then that will be a better shift. After that, then we can talk about family work and any questions on that. So if you guys want to get comfortable, we're just going to sit for a few minutes, but I'll talk you just through a basic sitting technique. So one of the things I recommend is that if you're going to sit on the floor, which is recommended, get something that you can sit on. And if you want to get into mindfulness, and a good place to start, if you want to purchase one of these little yoga blocks, they're like a couple dollars, maybe $5 online. And this is sturdy enough to sit on top of to get your hips higher than your knees. There's also more expensive options that I'm sitting on right now. You can get like little pillows that are filled that are really firm, but they're super comfortable to sit on. And the idea that sorry, just adjusted my seat. Just that you're trying to get your hips to be elevated above your knees. And if you're on the floor, you want to sit crisscross, applesauce. Or if you're in a chair, you want to just make sure that the soles of your feet are planted and that your legs aren't crossed, so that the circulation, the air, the blood flow is moving freely through you. So if you guys want to get ready, we're going to I'll take you through a little guided stretches, and then we'll do a little guided breathing. Okay, so getting comfortable. So sitting so that you're not slouched over. The idea is that you're lining up. So if there was a string from the top of my head, it's pulling me up tall. My head is over my heart is over my pelvis. I'm sitting up tall. My shoulders are relaxed and dropped, and then my hands are just freely laying either palms up or palms down. Some are comfortable on my lap. Sometimes it helps if you want to interlace your fingers and just gently touch your thumbs together and rest that. Or another mudra that I like is touching my thumb to my index finger and then just relax, letting that place down on my lap. So pick one that feels comfortable. And then once you get into that comfortable space that you feel like you can sit up tall and kind of sustain this stillness. I know sometimes it feels a little odd to close our eyes when we're on screen. So if you wanted to take your picture off, if that makes you feel more comfortable where you can relax better, you're welcome to do that. Just getting to a comfortable place once you feel like you can sustain that stillness. So I'll ask you to just gently close your eyes. And then just start to bring your awareness to your breath. So that inhale is going to come in through your nose. And it's going to fill coming all the way down. So filling up our belly and our chest. And then as you exhale, pay attention to how the breath comes out through your nostrils. So just breathing in through your nose. Maybe noticing that it's a little cooler as it comes in. Just pay attention to that breath coming in your body, filling up your chest, and breathing out. Maybe it feels warm. Pay attention to how that breath feels as it comes out of your body. And this time we're going to take a breath together through our nose, and then we're going to exhale out our mouth. So everyone exhale where you're at, and together we're going to inhale through our nose to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. And then exhale out your mouth. 4, 3, 2, 1. And then just notice, was it harder to exhale or inhale? And just pay attention to try and match the inhales and the exhales. So again, breathing in through your nose. And just hold that breath for a count of 2. And then exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. So on your own, we're just going to take a couple deep breaths. So see if you can lengthen, maybe even to the count of 5 or 6. So just gently breathing in, counting. See how long you can make that inhale. And then when you're all the way as much as you can, then you're going to see how long you can make your exhale. Okay, now that we've paid attention to our breath, just seeing how that feels in our body. Okay, I'm going to ask you to come back for a minute just to do a couple little movements in our body. So letting your hands down by your side, you're going to have your thumbs facing up and just reach your hands up on your inhale. So your breath is going to come in and your hands are going to come all the way up to the top. And once you get to the top, you're going to press your palms together and then bring them down on your exhale to your heart center. So just slowly coming down and then taking a breath here. Your thumb should be on your sternum. You're breathing in, filling up your chest and keeping them there, pressing your palms together, feeling each fingertip, and then exhale. And then releasing our hands back down to our side. And again, on your inhale, we're going to see if the movement with our hands can match the inhale of the breath. So the whole time you're breathing in, you're breathing your hands up. So breathe in. Almost like that breath is moving your hands up. And then once you get to the top, you're going to exhale again, bringing your hands slowly to your heart center. Exhale everything out. Now we're going to interlace our fingers and push away from our body. And then lift our hands up. And then once you get as far as you can, you're going to drop your shoulders. So kind of plugging your shoulders down, but keeping your arms stretched out top. And then we're going to just take a side bend to the right. And if you want to release your hands and grab your, I forgot to tell you, grab your wrist. So your right hand is grabbing your left wrist. It's a little easier to get a pull there, lengthening the side body, keeping your heart open. And then inhale, coming back up, and then just switch it out. So now you're going to hold your right wrist and bend over to your left. And then just keeping that gaze up so your heart spirals up to the ceiling. And then back up to center. And then press your palms together. And then just, we're going to settle right above the top of our head. So pressing your palms together. You're just seeing that your elbows are bent out to the side. And take a deep breath here. And see if you can still feel each fingertip pressing against each other. And exhale. And then slowly releasing our hands back down to our lap. Now we're going to interlace our hands behind our back. just to get an opening of our chest here. You're pulling down and away. And then we're going to gently open up our throat. So lifting our gaze up to the top. And then we're going to tuck our chin. And if you want to come all the way down, you can keep tucking and bring your hands up above you just as far as feels comfortable. And then coming back up to center. And then just give your hands a little shake and circle our wrists one way and then the other way. A lot of you guys are probably spending tons of time on your computer, so this is a good time to kind of stretch out our wrists. So little zombie arms out in front and then up, and then take one hand and just stretch your wrist this way and then down the other way. And then just switch to your other hand. And then see if you can pay attention. Has anyone stopped breathing? So keep breathing while you're doing these movements. Pay attention to your breath as it's coming in and releasing out. Okay, now we're going to come back to that stillness. So see if it's a little bit easier now that we've gotten some movements out, and just paying attention one more time to our placement of our head over our heart over our pelvis. So like there's a string pulling us up. So whatever's touching the ground, you're rooting in, you're really trying to ground in and lengthen up the side of your body. And then relaxing our hands on our lap, letting our shoulders hang heavy. And again, I'm going to ask you, if you can, gently close your eyes or just bring your gaze down and soften your gaze. Now we're going to bring you back to your breath again and see if, just notice if it's a little bit easier now to come back to that breath, letting our mind focus on the inhale as it comes into our body and releasing the air of the exhale, pulling our navel to our spine on the exhale. So inhales are filling up our belly, up our chest. On the exhale, we're pulling our navel to our spine, letting everything out. Now just let your breath flow naturally. We're going to just practice seeing if we can let our mind wander for a minute and then bringing the attention back to our breath. So as your mind starts to wander, just gently bring the attention back to the inhale, maybe focusing on how it feels coming in through our nostrils, or maybe feel wherever that breath feels the easiest to pay attention to. Maybe it's in our belly as it fills up. So sitting in stillness, I'm just going to guide you through a few thought process. So we're going to start bringing our awareness to the top of our skull. We're going to move a little body scan down our body. So first, just paying attention to our forehead, softening any tension that might feel coming down our eyes, softening the corners of our eyes, making space between our teeth, softening our jaw, relaxing our shoulders again, letting them feel heavy, falling away from our ears. Awareness down our arms, down our forearms, all the way down to our fingertips, making our fingertips feel soft and relaxed. And then the lower half of our body, just letting it feel heavy and grounded. And bringing that awareness all the way down our feet to our toes, and letting our whole body just feel relaxed. And then gently come back to your breath. So breathing in and breathing out. Now I want you to take a minute to think of an image like we did earlier. And this time I want you to think of something that you've done that was out of kindness for somebody else. Maybe in this past week, something even simple, if you did something that you know was appreciated. And I want you to think first of what that act was, and then think about the person that received it. And maybe imagine what expression they have, or if it was in person and you saw them, just picture what it was like when you did something nice for them. How did they respond? Was there a smile or a hug? And I just want you to bring yourself back to that moment. And now I want you to make the connection to your body of how that feels inside of your body. How, as you think of that kindness that you offered, is there a place in your body that you can bring awareness to? Maybe in your heart center, And sometimes it helps if you just place your hand, if it's in your heart center, wherever that feeling might be, just to try to feel a little bit connected to that feeling inside of our body. And now I want you to just imagine as if there's a little light that's starting in the heart center. So just a pinprick of light that's going to start to expand as you think of that kindness, as you think of that gratitude that somebody felt towards you. I want that light to grow. So on your inhale, you're letting that light expand through our heart center, moving maybe all the way down to our fingertips, all the way down to our toes. That warmth and that light is just growing inside of our body. And see if you can feel the sensation, actually feel the light moving through our body. And if your mind has wandered, just bring it back to your breath or back to the sensation that you can feel inside of your body. And again, keep bringing your attention back to your breath. Feel it moving in and out of your body. And then we're going to bring our hands, our palms together at our heart center, pushing our palms together, our thumb on our sternum, and bowing our head. We're just going to take a minute of gratitude, appreciating our bodies for the gifts that they are, and our minds and our hearts. And again, breathing into that heart center, filling that space with light and love. And we'll close with a mantra. So just in your mind, if you want to say, as you breathe in, breathing in, I have arrived. And breathing out, I am home. Breathing in, I have arrived. And breathing out, I am home. Our bodies are homes for us, a place of stillness that we can get to. And when you're ready, you can release your hands down to your side and gently bat your eyelashes open. And if it helps to maybe stretch to bring yourself back. And then we have about 10 minutes left. Any comments really quickly on how that experience was for you, if that was the first time trying to get to that stillness, or if that was something you're used to, anything that came up for you, if anyone was willing to share. And thanks for being willing to do that. If it's new for you, it might feel a little bit odd. So the more we practice that and just practice paying attention to our bodies and the sensations in our bodies, it gets a lot more comfortable and easier to do the more that we do it. So any questions or comments thus far? Yeah, McKenna?
I needed to unmute myself. I just noticed like the main focus of meditation is to like become aware of your breath. And whenever I meditate and it hasn't been like it's been a long time, I like struggle to breathe. Like I shallow breathe really bad and I'm like, I can't get oxygen. And so I don't know what I was getting at, but just like, I don't know, just turning your, by not appreciating something every day or being aware of something every day, when you suddenly do start paying attention to it, it's like difficult almost.
No, that's a really good point to make. I've noticed that for myself too. If I go a couple days without it, it's harder to get back into it. So our minds and our hearts are muscles, and they need work and they need to be practiced, right? Just like if we stopped walking, our body would stop having those muscles get building and have strength. So our heart needs, and our mind and our thoughts, like they're muscles that need to be practiced. And there's this song actually that's called Your Heart is a Muscle that I really love. Like it needs, we need to pay attention to it and work at it. And it does take work and practice. So yeah, it's good to be aware of when it is hard. And even throughout the day, mindfulness can really be applied into anything you're doing. Like if you're washing dishes or if you're walking or driving, like you can do anything mindfully if you're really stopping and paying attention. And the easiest way to do that is just to pay attention to your breath. And I think an easy beginner's mind is like being able to count. So those counting techniques, just trying to increase it, like maybe just starting counting in to 3 and out to 3, and then see if you can get that number a little bit higher. And then the idea of pausing at the top and then pausing at the bottom. So it's really a 4-step, right? Breathing in, pausing, breathing out, and pausing. So it's kind of like a square. Like I teach that one to my kids. Like you breathe in, and then across, you're gonna pause, and then you're gonna breathe out, and then you're gonna pause, and then you breathe in. So you're like, I tell my kids to just like draw a square with their hand. And so that will help us. And then just see if you can get that square to be a little bit longer each time. And it does, it gets better. Your breath gets better. Your mind is used to paying attention to it. So, okay, I know I'm running out of time, so I better move on to the other thing that I really am passionate about is relationships and family therapy, family counseling, marriage and family all together. So a lot of people, they just don't know if that's something they're interested in, like what path to take. So the truth is there's lots of different ways to go about getting that. And Peacebuilding is such a great foundation for any of those avenues. If you wanted to go on to grad school, Peacebuilding is awesome. It's like really like the skills that you learn here for yourself and for being able to do mediation and being able to solve conflicts, all of that is going to come in hand and really correlates well. So my master's degree was in social work, and that's one avenue that you can go. You can get a master's in social work, and then after you get your degree, in different states, it's either between 1,000 to 3,000, which sounds like a lot, but they're called clinical hours, and you do those hours underneath a licensed supervisor. So when you graduate with a master's in social work, it's called an MSW, so master's in social work, and that doesn't allow you to do therapy yet. So then you have to get a license. So usually you take a test right when you graduate, and then you move forward to getting a supervised position. So somebody with a license will be your supervisor, and they supervise you over the next, it usually takes not under 2 and not more than 5. So between 2 and 5 years, but you're practicing therapy under somebody else's license. And then at the end of those, you take another big test, and then you can get licensed to be, it's called a licensed clinical social worker, an LCSW. So that's the path that I am actually in middle of finishing my hours. I graduated a long time ago, had babies, and then I went on and did lots of other things, and I never actually got my license. So recently I just got underneath a supervision, and I get to finally get those hours counted and get that done. So that's one path to do it. Another one that's really popular that I've noticed a lot of people from our program have gone and done the MFT, or marriage and family therapy. And they offer that at lots of different schools. BYU Provo has one that they've come here and recruited, and a few of our students have gone there and have said it's a really, I think Sarah Coles is in it, if anyone knows her. And we've had a few other alumni graduate from that program that say it's really great. So that's just 2 options. There's actually lots of different ways to become a therapist if that's something you're interested in. And for sure, Peacebuilding, again, would be a great foundation for you to go forward and get do master's work in that, or getting a PhD in psychology is another way to do that. Okay, any questions on that path or what that might look like for you, or yeah, any questions on any of that? Here's my pause again. I'm gonna wait.
Don't you usually have to get your master's to be a therapist or counselor?
Yeah, I don't know of any bachelor's program that allows you to do therapy. So even in social work, you can work with your BSW, your bachelor's in social work. You can get jobs, but it wouldn't be like a clinical one-on-one job. Your internships will start that way, and you'll get like, sometimes they'll have you do like group work, but you always have to have a license as a social worker to do any clinical work, or you have to be under somebody that supervises you. And yeah, I can't think of, I mean, even in psychology, yeah. So doing one-on-one therapy, for sure, you got to do some more school work.
Does it really matter what your undergrad is?
For social work, the benefit of having a BSW, a bachelor's in social work, is that you can take, at most schools offer what's called advanced standing, and that means it's just shortened. And that's what I did. I got my bachelor's from Provo, and then I got my master's from the University of Utah, and it was way shorter. It was like a year and a summer. So it's awesome. It's an advanced standing program, and that's a really cool way to do that. But if you are already done and you don't have that, I still think the social work program, it's just 2 years, and it's not, I don't think it's difficult. I was just telling Chad, like, I was getting up my transcripts. I'm like, oh man, it was really cool to look at those classes that I took, and they were awesome. I learned so much in my master's program. And sometimes I wish like the advanced standing is great, I got it done, but I feel like I kind of maybe missed out on some of the other stuff that they assume you got in your bachelor's work, but it's always different at a master's level. It's always gonna be different, so. Good question. Thanks, McKenna. Anyone else? Any other questions about grad school or jobs or opportunities?
You mentioned that it took 2 years to finish your master's in social work. Am I correct?
Yeah, so there's 2 different ways. If you have your bachelor's in social work, then you can get your master's. It's called an advanced standing. It just means it's quicker. So it actually only took me a year and a summer. So I don't know what a year and a little, I think it was like a spring and a summer semester. And that was my internship, and then I was done. But then you have to remember that you have to get your license after that. So you have to put in like 2 to 5 years of either part-time or full-time. You could do it in 2 years to get licensed, and then you could do private practice, or you technically are available as an LCSW. You can do practice therapy. Or it's not only therapy. I mean, there's lots of things social work can lead you to. And there's also, I guess it's important to point out, when you're looking into getting your master's degree, do I have to get off, Chad? My time is probably up. Oh, I have 1 minute. Okay, sorry, last thing. Okay, so there's, just so you know, if you're thinking about like the more macro, working like social justice, or if you're thinking more working with like individuals, like you can decide that in your master's program. So if you have more questions, just email me and I can answer those. Okay, sorry you guys, we ran out of time. All right, thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.
So good to see you,
Amanda.
Thanks for participating. Good to see you. All right.
We will, just so you know, next week we'll